The cake sat untouched on the kitchen counter. One candle, pink frosting. A single balloon tied to the back of a chair, swaying slightly in the air conditioning. No one was coming. Olivia wiped her hands on her apron and glanced at the clock. 6:47 p.m. She'd been here since dawn preparing everything. The decorations, the meal, the gifts wrapped in paper she'd bought with her own money. Upstairs through the ceiling she could hear footsteps, heavy, slow, deliberate. He was home. But he hadn't come down. Olivia walked to the bottom of the grand staircase and called up softly, "Mr. Castellano." Silence. She tried again. "Sir, everything's ready." Still nothing. Then from the nursery at the end of the hall, a small voice broke the quiet. "Mama." Olivia's chest tightened. That word, always that word. The little girl didn't understand. She couldn't. At 1 year old, how could she possibly know that the woman she was calling for would never answer? Olivia climbed the stairs slowly, her footsteps muffled by the thick carpet. The hallway was dim, lined with paintings worth more than she'd earn in a lifetime. But there were no photographs, no smiling faces, no memories. Just wealth and silence. She pushed open the nursery door. There, standing in her crib, clutching the rails with tiny fists, was Arya. Her dark curls were messy from her nap. Her cheeks were flushed, and her eyes, those wide, hopeful eyes, locked onto Olivia the moment she entered. "Mama," Arya said again, reaching out. Olivia's throat burned. She crossed the room and lifted the child into her arms. Arya clung to her immediately, burying her face in Olivia's shoulder. "I'm not your mama, sweet girl," Olivia whispered, even though she'd said it 100 times before. "But I'm here, I promise." She carried Arya to the window. Outside, the city stretched endlessly, glittering in the fading light. Somewhere out there, people were celebrating. Families were gathering. Children were blowing out candles. But here, in this penthouse that cost more than most people's homes, a little girl's first birthday was passing in silence. Olivia heard the door to the master suite open down the hall. Then close. He was leaving. Without a word, without a glance. Olivia made a decision. She set Arya down gently, smoothed her dress and walked into the hallway. Vincent Castellano stood by the elevator, his coat already on, his briefcase in hand. "Mr. Castellano." He stopped but didn't turn around. "It's her birthday," Olivia said, her voice steady despite the anger rising in her chest. "I'm aware." His tone was flat, empty. "Then why aren't you here? I pay you to handle this. You pay me to care for her, not to replace you." Vincent turned slowly. He was 41 but looked older. His face was sharp, handsome in a cold way, but his eyes were hollow, like someone had carved out everything soft and left only the shell. "If you have a problem with your duties, I can find someone else." Olivia stepped forward. "She called for you this morning." Something flickered in his expression, brief, painful. "She stood at your door for 20 minutes, waiting for you to come out. Do you know what that does to a child?" "Enough. She doesn't understand why you won't hold her, why you won't look at her. She thinks it's her fault." I said enough. "Her name is Arya," Olivia's voice cracked. "She's your daughter, and today is her first birthday. The least you can do is say her name." Vincent's jaw tightened. For a moment, she thought he might fire her on the spot. Instead, he pressed the elevator button. "I have a meeting. It's 7 o'clock. Then I have a late meeting." The elevator doors opened. He stepped inside. Olivia didn't move. "If you leave now, she'll remember. Maybe not the details, but she'll remember the feeling. That no one showed up, that she didn't matter." Vincent stared at her from inside the elevator, his hand hovering over the button. "Do you have children, Olivia?" "No, sir." "Then don't pretend to understand what I'm going through." The doors closed. And he was gone. Olivia stood in the empty hallway, her hands trembling. She wanted to scream, to throw something, to quit and walk out and let him drown in his own misery. But then she heard it again. "Mama!" Arya's voice, small and uncertain, drifted from the nursery. Olivia exhaled slowly. She wiped her eyes, straightened her shoulders, and walked back into the room. Arya looked up at her, confused. "It's okay, baby," Olivia said softly, lifting her again. "We're going to have a birthday party, just you and me." She carried Arya downstairs to the kitchen. The cake was still there, waiting. The candle stood unlit in the center. Olivia set Arya in her high chair and knelt in front of her. "Do you know what today is?" Arya blinked. "Today you've been in this world for 1 whole year. That's a very big deal." Olivia smiled, even though her heart was breaking. "And even if no one else remembers, I do. And I'm going to make sure you feel loved today. I promise." She lit the candle. The tiny flame flickered in the quiet kitchen. Olivia sang softly, her voice trembling but warm. "Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you." Arya watched the flame, mesmerized. "Happy birthday, dear Arya. Happy birthday to you." Olivia leaned forward and helped Arya blow out the candle. The little girl clapped, delighted, and for a moment the sadness lifted. But then Arya turned toward the stairs. "Dada." Olivia's smile faltered. Arya pointed, "Dada." "He's not here, sweetheart." "Dada," Arya's voice grew urgent. She started to cry, soft at first, then louder. Olivia pulled her from the high chair and held her close, rocking her gently. I know, baby, I'm sorry." Arya sobbed into her shoulder, her small body shaking. And in that moment, Olivia made a decision that would change everything. She wasn't going to let this child grow up feeling invisible. Not if she could help it. If stories like this remind you why kindness matters, stay with us. Sometimes the smallest acts of love change everything. The next morning, Olivia woke early. She hadn't slept well. Her small room on the staff floor felt colder than usual, and her mind wouldn't stop turning. She'd worked for the Castellano family for 8 months. She'd watched Vincent retreat further into himself with each passing week. She'd seen the parade of nannies come and go, each one lasting only a few weeks before quitting. But she'd stayed. Not because the pay was good, though it was. Not because the job was easy, it wasn't. She stayed because of Arya. Because someone had to. Olivia dressed quietly and made her way to the nursery. Arya was still asleep, curled up with a stuffed rabbit Olivia had given her months ago. She looked so small, so fragile. Olivia sat in the rocking chair and watched her breathe. "You deserve better than this," she whispered. A sound from the hallway made her turn. Vincent stood in the doorway. He looked terrible. His shirt was wrinkled, his tie hung loose. He hadn't shaved. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Vincent stepped into the room. He moved slowly, like he was approaching something dangerous. His eyes were fixed on Arya, and for the first time since Olivia had known him, she saw something other than emptiness. She saw fear. He stopped a few feet from the crib. "I don't know how to do this," he said quietly. Olivia stood. "Do what?" "Be near her without," his voice broke, "without seeing her mother." Olivia's anger softened, just a little. "She's not her mother, Mr. Castellano. She's herself." "I know that." "Do you?" Vincent closed his eyes. "My wife died bringing her into the world. Every time I look at Arya, I see what I lost, and I hate myself for it, but I can't make it stop." Olivia took a careful step toward him. "Your daughter didn't take anything from you. She lost something too. She lost her mother before she ever got to know her." Vincent's hands clenched into fists. "And now she's losing her father," Olivia continued. "Not because he's gone, but because he won't let himself stay. I'm trying to protect her. From what? From me, from the anger, from the grief. I'm not safe for her. Olivia shook her head slowly. You're wrong. Vincent looked at her, surprised. Children don't need perfect parents, Mr. Castellano. They need present ones. They need someone to show up even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. I don't know how. Then learn. Vincent stared at Arya, his expression tortured. Olivia made a decision. She walked to the crib, gently lifted Arya and turned to face him. Hold her. Vincent stepped back. I can't. Yes, you can. Olivia. She's your daughter and she needs you. Arya stirred, her eyes fluttering open. When she saw Vincent, she went very still. Then she smiled. It was small, tentative, but unmistakable. Dada, she whispered. Vincent's composure shattered. Olivia stepped forward and placed Arya in his arms before he could refuse. He held her awkwardly, his whole body rigid, but Arya didn't care. She reached up and touched his face, her tiny hand resting on his cheek. Dada, she said again, her voice filled with trust. Vincent's breathing turned ragged. A tear slipped down his face. I'm sorry, he choked out. I'm so sorry, Arya. Arya didn't understand the words, but she understood the feeling. She leaned her head against his chest and closed her eyes. And Vincent, broken and terrified, held his daughter for the first time in months. Olivia stepped back quietly, giving them space. This was the beginning. Not of healing, not yet, but of hope. 3 weeks passed. Vincent didn't transform overnight. Grief didn't work that way. But he started showing up. At first it was just mornings. He'd come to the nursery before work, stand in the doorway and watch Arya play. He wouldn't speak, wouldn't touch her, but he was there. Olivia never pushed. She simply made space for him. Then one evening, he stayed for dinner. Olivia had prepared Arya's favorite, mashed sweet potatoes and applesauce. She set up the high chair in the kitchen, something Vincent had never seen before. He sat across from them, silent, his tie loosened. Arya made a mess as toddlers do, food everywhere, in her hair, on her face, on Olivia. Vincent watched, and for the first time, Olivia saw the ghost of a smile. She's chaotic, he said. Olivia laughed. She's one, chaos is her job. Arya looked at Vincent and held out a spoonful of sweet potato. Dada. Vincent hesitated. She's offering to share, Olivia said gently. That's a big deal in toddler language. Vincent leaned forward and let Arya press the spoon to his lips. He took a tiny bite, and Arya clapped, delighted. Good, she asked. Vincent nodded. Good. Arya beamed. And something in Vincent's chest, something that had been frozen for over a year, began to thaw. The breakthrough came on a Saturday. Olivia had the day off, but she'd left instructions. Arya's schedule, her favorite games, emergency contacts. Vincent had nodded, pale but determined. Olivia left reluctantly. She spent the morning running errands, checking her phone every 10 minutes. No calls, no emergencies. When she returned that evening, she found Vincent on the living room floor. He was surrounded by building blocks. Arya sat in his lap, stacking them into a wobbly tower. They were both laughing. Olivia stopped in the doorway, stunned. Vincent looked up and saw her. His smile faded slightly, replaced by something almost sheepish. We've been building. I see that. Arya knocked the tower over and squealed with joy. Vincent rebuilt it patiently, and she knocked it down again. He didn't seem frustrated. If anything, he looked peaceful. Olivia set down her bag and sat on the couch. How was your day? Vincent glanced at Arya, then back at Olivia. Terrifying, exhausting, he paused. The best day I've had in a long time. Olivia's eyes stung. She's incredible, Vincent continued. I didn't know she was so smart, so funny. She has this laugh that sounds exactly like. He stopped. Like her mother, Olivia finished gently. Vincent nodded. That's not a bad thing, Mr. Castellano. I know, his voice was quiet. I'm starting to understand that. Arya crawled out of his lap and toddled over to Olivia, arms outstretched. Olivia scooped her up and kissed her forehead. Did you have fun with Dada today? Dada, Arya pointed back at Vincent proudly. Vincent stood slowly, brushing off his jeans. Olivia, I need to ask you something. Of course. Why did you stay? She frowned. What do you mean? You could have quit like the others. You could have walked away and found an easier job, but you didn't. He looked at her intently. Why? Olivia adjusted Arya on her hip, considering her answer. Because I know what it's like to be the child no one fights for. Vincent's expression shifted. I grew up in foster care, Olivia continued. My parents died in a car accident when I was 6. After that, I moved from home to home. Some were kind, some weren't, but none of them, she swallowed hard. None of them made me feel like I mattered, like I was worth the trouble. Olivia, I wasn't going to let that happen to Arya, not if I could help it. Vincent stepped closer. You gave her what no one gave you. I gave her what every child deserves: consistency, attention, love. You gave her more than that. Vincent's voice was thick. You gave her a father. You refused to let me disappear. You pushed me when I wanted to run. You believed I could be better when I didn't believe it myself. Olivia's vision blurred. Thank you, Vincent said simply. She nodded, unable to speak. Arya yawned, rubbing her eyes. Someone's ready for bed, Olivia said softly. Can I? Vincent hesitated. Can I put her down tonight? Olivia smiled. She'd love that. She handed Arya to Vincent. The little girl went willingly, resting her head on his shoulder. Vincent carried her upstairs, Olivia following quietly. In the nursery, he changed her into pajamas, slowly, carefully, like he was handling something precious. Olivia stood by, ready to help, but he managed on his own. He settled Arya into her crib and pulled the blanket up to her chin. Good night, sweetheart, he whispered. Arya reached up and touched his face. Night-night, Dada. Vincent kissed her forehead. As they left the room, he turned to Olivia. I'm going to do better, I promise. You already are. But the past wasn't finished with Vincent yet. 2 days later, Olivia found him in his study, staring at a photograph. It was his wedding day. Him and his wife Camilla, laughing, her head thrown back, his arm around her waist. They looked so young, so full of hope. Olivia knocked softly on the doorframe. Vincent looked up, his eyes red. I miss her, he said hoarsely. I miss her so much, and I don't know how to move forward without feeling like I'm leaving her behind. Olivia stepped into the room. You're not leaving her behind, Mr. Castellano. You're honoring her by taking care of the person she loved most, your daughter. But it feels like betrayal, being happy again, laughing, moving on. It's not moving on, it's moving forward. There's a difference. Vincent set the photograph down gently. Camilla would have been an amazing mother. She had everything planned, the nursery, the schedule. She even picked out Arya's first birthday outfit. His voice cracked. And I forgot her birthday. But you remembered what mattered more, Olivia said firmly. You came back. You chose to stay. That's what Camilla would have wanted. Vincent was silent for a long time. Then he said, I found something. Camilla's journal. She kept it during the pregnancy. Olivia waited. She wrote about all the things she wanted to do with Arya, first steps, first words, first birthday. He paused. She wrote about me too. She said she knew I'd be scared, that I'd want to run, but she believed I'd find my way back. She was right. Vincent looked at Olivia, and for the first time she saw something other than grief in his eyes. She saw gratitude. 6 months later, the penthouse was unrecognizable. There were toys scattered across the living room floor, drawings taped to the refrigerator, photographs lining the hallway, Arya's first steps, her first Christmas, her second birthday. Vincent had changed too. He came home at 6 every evening. He cooked dinner with Olivia. He read Arya bedtime stories, doing silly voices that made her giggle. He was present. And slowly, carefully, he was healing. One evening, after Arya was asleep, Vincent and Olivia sat in the living room with tea. "I've been thinking," Vincent said, about you, about everything you've done for us." Olivia shifted uncomfortably. "I was just doing my job." "No, you went far beyond that." He set down his cup. "Olivia, you saved my daughter's life and mine." "Mr. Castellano." "Vincent, please. After everything, I think we're past formalities." Olivia smiled. "Vincent." He leaned forward. "I want to set up a trust for you for your future. Education, a home, whatever you need. You've given us so much. Let me give something back." Olivia's eyes widened. That's too much." "It's not nearly enough. I didn't do this for money." "I know, which is exactly why you deserve it." Olivia's throat tightened. "Thank you, truly." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Vincent said, "There's something else." "What?" "Arya started calling you Mama." Olivia's heart stopped. "I know you've corrected her," Vincent continued, "but she's persistent, and honestly," he looked at her carefully, "I don't mind if you don't." "Vincent, I would never try to replace." "You're not replacing anyone. You're her family, in every way that matters." Tears spilled down Olivia's cheeks. "Camilla would have loved you," Vincent said softly. "She would have been so grateful that you were here for Arya, for both of us." Olivia wiped her eyes. "I love her. I love that little girl more than I ever thought possible." "I know, and she loves you too." 2 years later, on Arya's third birthday, the penthouse was full of laughter. Children ran through the hallways. Balloons floated against the ceiling. A massive cake sat in the center of the dining table, covered in pink frosting and edible flowers. Vincent stood in the kitchen with Olivia, watching the chaos with amusement. "I think we invited too many people," he said. Olivia laughed. "You think?" Arya ran past, chasing another little girl, her curls bouncing. "Mama Dada, come play." They followed her into the living room, where a fort made of blankets and cushions dominated the space. Arya climbed inside and patted the floor beside her. "Sit." Vincent and Olivia squeezed in, surrounded by giggling children. Arya handed Vincent a plastic teacup. "Tea party." "Of course, how could I forget?" As they pretended to sip imaginary tea, Olivia caught Vincent's eye. He mouthed 2 words. "Thank you." Olivia smiled. Because 3 years ago, a little girl's birthday had almost passed in silence. But today, this house was full of love. And that made all the difference. Later that evening, after the guests had left and Arya was asleep, Vincent and Olivia stood on the balcony, looking out over the city. "Do you ever think about what would have happened," Vincent asked, "if you hadn't stayed that night?" Olivia considered. "I try not to." "I do, all the time." He turned to face her. "I would have lost her, not physically, but I would have let her grow up alone, and I would have spent the rest of my life regretting it." "But you didn't." "Because you wouldn't let me." Olivia shook her head. "I just reminded you of what you already knew, that she was worth fighting for." Vincent smiled. "You're too humble. And you're too generous." They stood in comfortable silence, watching the stars. Then Vincent said, "Olivia, there's one more thing I've been meaning to ask you." "What's that?" Would you consider staying permanently, not as staff, as family? Olivia's breath caught. Arya needs you. I need you, and I don't want to imagine our lives without you in them. Olivia turned to him, her eyes shining. I'm not going anywhere, Vincent, I promise. He pulled her into a hug, and they stood there, two broken people who'd found healing in the most unexpected place. In caring for a little girl who deserved the world. If this story touched your heart, we'd be honored if you'd subscribe. Share it with someone who needs a reminder that it's never too late to choose love, and leave a comment telling us what this story meant to you. Your words matter. Thank you for being here. Because sometimes the smallest acts of courage change everything. Sometimes showing up is the bravest thing we can do, and sometimes the family we choose becomes the family that saves us.